Thank you all for coming. We're here today to talk about a really disturbing trend, that of the rapid and large increase in the amount of crime being committed against our children online, and that being child sex abuse material, better known as child pornography, child exploitation, and extortion. We're joined today by our partners with the North Carolina SBI and the FBI to talk about the large amount of work that law enforcement is doing to combat this problem. But we cannot do it alone. We also want to speak to the community and to parents about what you can do to help us keep children from being victimized in the first place. We're going to be very frank and honest with you today. I stand here not only as a law enforcement officer, but also as a father. I can tell you this is a subject that none of us want to talk about, but it is very real, and it is here in our community. Online predators, child pornography suspects are not always shadowy figures overseas. There are people that live in our community. There are people that live across this state and in communities across this nation. Right now, as we stand here, there are predators online trying to access your children. They are trying to use a computer, a cell phone, a social media account to entice your children to send explicit images, to in essence commit a sexual assault via online technology. We need parents' help to keep children from being victimized. To give a sense of the explosion of the numbers, you can see the cyber tips that CMPD has received. SAC Roughton is going to get into some more details about what a cyber tip is, but in essence, it is a report that's generated by the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, where a social media content provider or an internet content provider such as Google or Instagram, their servers have detected a child pornography being shared online, and that report is forwarded to a local jurisdiction where the images are being shared from for investigation. So in 2016, CMPD received 98 cyber tips. By 2019, that number was 414, and last year in 2022, it was 724, a massive increase in just a few years. So far this year, we're over 300 and on pace to hit that 700 number again this year. And these are just our cyber tip numbers. This does not include referrals from other law enforcement agencies, 911 calls, or proactive undercover online investigations that our detectives are conducting. And despite all of the work, our detectives and the special agents involved are doing tremendous work targeting the worst offenders. As an example, a case sentencing that happened in March of this year, a gentleman by the name of Sean Burney was sentenced to 17.5 years in federal prison on a case that was investigated jointly by the CMPD Cybercrimes Unit and the FBI. This individual posed as a juvenile female online and enticed a 14-year-old boy to send him explicit images. Once he received those images, he told this young man that if he did not send him more images, he would post the ones he already had online for the world to see. Now, ASAC Bogus is going to talk a little bit more about those types of crimes, but I bring that investigation to light to point out that this was a suspect who lived in Charlotte, who was preying on children in Charlotte, all through the use of a computer and online devices. These are complex investigations. They take months or even years to complete. For example, the Burney investigation was 6 months from the initial report until the time of his arrest. The other problem with cyber tips is they are reactive investigations. Once CMPD has received a cyber tip, a child has already been victimized. So what we want to talk about today is how parents can help us to keep children from being victimized. Once law enforcement is involved, at least one child has already been victimized. Mr. Burney was stopped by a parent who made a report protecting their children. So I think of parent involvement as a three-pronged approach. There's a technological side where you set parental controls or use monitoring software on each of your children's devices. There's frank and difficult conversations you have with your children about what is appropriate to do and share online. And finally, there is searches that you need to do of your children's devices. Any device that they use to chat, with people in the outside, their cell phones, their computers, their tablets, even their gaming devices. You need to tell your children to never, ever send any explicit image online, no matter who they think they're sending it to. As you can see from the Bernie investigation, criminals pose as people that they are not very easily online. And once that image is gone, we have lost control. There is nothing that our detectives can do to 100% scrub the web of an image that's been sent to someone else. Tell your children to never chat online with someone unless they know them in person. Obviously, again, with the investigation I pointed out, people can pretend to be somebody they're not. Limit and monitor the amount of time your children spend on screens. Know their passwords and know what they're talking about when you're looking at the information on their devices. If you see an acronym or an abbreviation that you don't know, look it up. Ask your child, find out what they're talking about. These crimes know no geographical, socioeconomic, or racial boundaries. They are in every corner of our city. If you take the cyber tips that we've received and map them, it covers the city of Charlotte. Our goal today is to bring this problem to light for parents, to let you know how you can help us, because once again, we need to stop the victimization of our children, protect our children. There's lots of ways to report locally. If you feel that you have found abuse, you can obviously always call 911 or 311 to make a report. There's also the cyber tip line, which is excellent. That is at cybertipline.org or 1-800-THE-LOST. That's run by the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. And just keep in mind that the investigation will ultimately be routed to the location where the suspect is sharing or requesting images, not necessarily where the victim lives. There's also resources out there for children and families that have already been victimized. The Cyber Tip Line website has a lot of those resources. And if you feel that you have images, that there are images out there that are already being shared, you can go to takeitdown.ncmec.org, and they will help you to try and scrub the web of any images. So please help us out. Help protect our kids.